Hey fifth graders, it's Mrs. Tremblay. This is for those of you that may have missed the Zoom on Thursday, December 3rd, or maybe you missed your small group, or maybe you just wanted a little reteach on what we did. Any one of those things, this is for you. We of course started off with our number talk, and in our number talk, the first problem I gave was 1/2 plus 4/6. I'm going to go ahead and pause and see if you can figure this out in your head and press play when you're ready. All right, a lot of people gave me the answer of 1 1/6, which is correct. Some of the ways they arrived at that, some people took 1/2 and multiplied it by 3/3 and got 3/6 and added 4/6 to that and got 7/6, which as a mixed number is 1 1/6. And I had some other individuals that looked at this as 1/2 plus, and instead of 4/6, they looked at 4/6 as 3/6 plus 1/6. The reason they did that is because they knew that 1/2 plus 3/6, those are both half, and a half plus a half is a whole. And then we just have the 1/6 left over, which gives you that same answer of 1 1/6. So that was our first problem. Our second problem that we did was 6/12 plus 9/16. And again, you can go ahead and press pause and see if you can figure out what that answer is in your head. I don't want you to write it down. All right, welcome back. Some people I had look at this as they said, okay, well 6/12 equals 1/2. And I want that to be 16ths, so they multiplied that by 8/8 and changed that to 8/16. And then added 9/16 to that, which gave them 17/16, or 1 1/16. And that other method that we looked at above, I did have some people use that same method. I like it a lot. They looked at it as 6/12 and broke up 9/16 into 8/16 because that's a half plus 1/16, because both of those together equal 9/16. They knew that half plus a half, no matter what form it's in, is equal to 1, and 1 plus that 1/16 that's left over is 1 1/16. So both ways are correct. Sometimes when you get the higher denominators like that, recognizing a half, this method here will make it go a little faster for you, but either way is fine. All right, from here we moved into doing some workbook problems, and we were on workbook page 29. So go ahead and grab your math workbook page packet. Yours is gonna look a lot nicer. Your page 29 is in color. Mine, I needed to just use a regular copy of it because I don't have a million extra workbook copies. All right, so today we're continuing along with adding and subtracting fractions, but we're gonna talk about how you can use an estimate to check to see if your answer is reasonable. So an estimate is just kind of like a rounded value. It's close to what the number is, but not exact. You can estimate the sum, that means the result of an addition problem, or the difference, that's the result of a subtraction problem, of fractions using the benchmarks 0, 1/2, and 1. A number line can help you determine which benchmark fraction it's closest to. And I'll be drawing out some number lines as well. If you wanted to have your whiteboard handy, I think that would help. I'll probably be going back and forth with regular paper with this because these workbook pages don't really give you a whole lot of space to write things down. All right, this first set here says use the benchmarks of 0, 1/2, and 1 to estimate the sum or difference. Then find the actual sum or difference. So for this first one, it's 1/4 plus 7/8. So with this, our job is to ask ourselves, what is 1/4 closest to? Is 1/4 closest to 0, 1, 0, 1/2, or 1? So if I were to put 1/4 on a little number line, 1/4 is between 0 and 1. And to plot 1/4, I would need 4 sections, and 1/4 would be right here. Now 1/2 is right here. So in terms of deciding, is it closer to 0 or is it closer to 1/2, I mean, you could honestly tell me either way because it's 1 away from both of them. So I'm just gonna call it 0 because 0 is easy to add. So I'm gonna write a little 0 up above that. Now I wanna look at 7/8 and ask myself, what is 7/8 closest to? So same thing, 7/8 is also between 0 and 1. And I would need eighths on here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut up this line into eighths. And 7/8 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll be right there. And we can see, like, here's the halfway mark, right? 7/8 is closer to 1. So I would use 1 for my estimate, or for my rounded amount. Now my estimate, instead of saying 1/4 plus 7/8, I'm going to say 0 plus 1. So my estimate for 1/4 plus 7/8 is an answer that is pretty close to 1. Now we're going to actually solve this problem out, and then we're going to determine if our answer is reasonable. So to solve this out, and again, you can be doing this on whiteboard and then pause it as we go along, 1/4 plus 7/8. This would be a group 2 problem because I can multiply 4 by 2 to get 8. I don't have to multiply both of those fractions. So I'd end up with 1 times 2 is 2/8 plus 7/8, which gives me 9/8, or 1 1/8. So on the line where it says sum, the result of my addition problem, I'm going to write 1 1/8. Now I have to ask myself, is 1 1/8 a reasonable answer based on my estimate? Meaning, is 1 1/8 pretty close to 1? I would say so. It's only 1/8 away from 1. So that means that this is a reasonable answer based on my estimate. For number 2, I have 7/16 minus 5/12. And again, we want to go ahead and estimate, is 7/16 closest to 0, 1/2, or 1? So when you're looking at 7/16, 7/16 is also between 0 and 1. And for that, like, I know if I'm dealing with 16ths that 8/16 is halfway, right? So wouldn't 7/16 just be 1 right before that? And I'm hoping you can see that's really close to that halfway mark. So I would use, for the 7/16, 1/2. Now for 5/12. 5/12 is also between 0 and 1. Halfway between 0 and 1, if I'm dealing with 12ths, would be 6/12. 5/12 would just be one less section than that. So again, I'm hoping you're saying, hey, that's really close to 1/2. So when we give our estimate, I'm going to take 1/2 minus 1/2, which, yes, you guessed it, is 0. So if this, if my difference I get is really close to 0, that means we're on target. So let's solve this problem out. It's 7/16 minus 5/12. Now this one, I probably wouldn't have picked this one at the beginning of 5th grade, but I'll help you along through it. You're not actually going to have to multiply this by 12 over 12 and this by 16 over 16. The LCM of 16 and 12, I'll give it to you, it's 48. And I would have to multiply 16 by 3 to get 48, and I'd multiply 12 by 4 to get 48. So my fractions I'm dealing with would be 21 over 48 minus 20 over 48. And that, of course, is 1/48. So I'm going to write that on the line here, 1/48. Now, if you only have 1 out of 48, like picture this, you have one piece of gum, and you broke it up into 48 little teeny tiny pieces, and you have one of those pieces. Is it going to feel like you have a piece of gum in your mouth? It's going to feel like nothing, because 1/48 is super close to 0. That means that my difference is reasonable based on my estimate. We skipped number 3 in our whole group today, so I'm going to skip it now. The next section says, to estimate the sum or difference of mixed numbers, you can round each mixed number to the nearest whole number. And it says, or to the nearest half. I feel like rounding it to the nearest whole number is a very good place for us to work from. So let's look at it that way. All right, so for number 4, I'm going to grab a clean sheet of paper. I'm going to ask myself, first off, which 2 whole numbers is 5 2/3 between? And 5 2/3 is between 5 and 6, right? It's a little bit more than 5, but it's a little bit less than 6 as well. So those are the 2 numbers it's between. If I wanted to show 5 2/3 on here, I'd have to break this up into 3 sections, and 5 2/3 would be right here. Now, as you're looking at this, which one is it closer to, the 5 or the 6? It's closer to the 6. So I'm going to write a 6 above that. For 3 1/6, 3 1/6 is between 3 and 4. So it's basically whatever whole number is given, that's your starting point, and the next one up. It's between those 2. So if I have 3 1/6, that would be right here, and we can see, oh, that's closer to 3. So for my estimate, I'm going to do 6 minus 3 is 3. Now we need to find the actual difference. So go ahead and on your whiteboard, we're going to do 5 2/3 minus 3 1/6. And you can pause me and see if you're right at the end. modern technology. All right, this is a group 2. I would only have to multiply 2/3 by 2/2. I would have 5 5/4 minus 3 1/6. So 4 minus 1 is 3. And there's my denominator of 6. And 5 minus 3 is 2. And 2 3/6 is, of course, 2 1/2. So on this line, I'm going to write 2 1/2. And is 2 1/2 pretty close to 3? Yeah, we would actually round that to 3. So our answer is reasonable based on our estimate. Okay, for number 5, we need an estimate. So 1 1/4, 1 1/4 is between 1 and 2. And 1 1/4, there's 4 pieces in the whole, would be right here, which means it's closer to 1. 2 7/10, and I think about this, like 2 7/10 is between 2 and 3. If I'm dealing with tenths, wouldn't 5/10 be the halfway mark? So if I'm looking at 2 7/10, 2 7/10 is going to be in this section, which means it would be closer to 3. So you can look at it that way as well. So for my estimate, I would do 1 plus 3, which is 4. Now we need to get our actual answer. So we have 1 1/4 plus 2 7/10. Now before you pause me, I know you can use 40 as your denominator, but this is actually a group 3 problem because the LCM of 4 and 10 isn't 40, it is 20. 20 is the first multiple they'd have in common if you counted by them. So I would suggest multiplying this by 5/5 and this by 2/2. All right, so we'd have 1 5/20 plus 2 14/20. 14 plus 5 is 19/20, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So our answer is 3 19/20. That is our sum. And if you have 19 out of 20, that's very close to 1 whole, which would make this very, very close to 4. So that means we are smooth sailing. We're good. All right, number 6, and we did 2 more. In case you're wondering, how much longer is this? We're going to do number 6, and we're going to do number 7, and then we'll be done. All right, for number 6, 3 3/8, I had to decide, is this closer to 3 or 4? Well, 3 4/8 would be halfway there. This is less than halfway there, which means it would kick back to 3. 1 3/16 now, 8/16 would be halfway. 1 3/16 is going to be less than halfway, which would mean it would be closer to the 1. And if you wanted to draw out those number lines and put it on there, that's a great strategy. We can also use those benchmark fractions of a half to help us as well. So 3 minus 1, that is 2. So let's calculate our actual difference and see where we're at here. So we're going to write 3 3/8 minus 1 3/16. Before you pause me, please know this is a group 2 problem. All right, you only needed to multiply the 3/8 by 2/2. So we would have 3 and 3 times 2 is 6/16 minus 1 3/16. 6 minus 3 is 3. My denominator stays the same, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So we have 2 3/16. Now if you only have 3 out of 16, that would definitely round down to the 2. So 2 3/16 is reasonable based on our estimate of 2 because it's really close to it. All right, the last one we need to do on this page, it's okay that we don't do every single problem, don't worry. You can do them all if you want to. But I use these in problems that we end up doing on whiteboards here and there anyhow. So you end up solving all these workbook problems out. We just don't do them all in the workbook. Anyhow, 10 1/5. If you can kind of picture that on the number line, it's between 10 and 11. 1/5 means it's only 1 hop away from 10, but it's 4 more hops to get to the 11, okay? So 10 1/5 is closer to 10. 5 6/11. So 5 6/11 would be 6 away from 5. But 6 plus 5 is 11, right? So I'd only need to go 5 hops to get up to the number 6. So you should round that to 6. So 10 plus 6, that is 16. That is my estimate. Now let's find our actual sum. We have 10 1/5 plus 5 6/11. This is a group 1 problem because the LCM of 5 and 11 is 55. So I do have to multiply that by 11/11 and this by 5/5. And again, feel free to pause me and try these on your own. I have 10 and 11 55ths, plus 5 and 30 55ths. 11 plus 30 is 41 55ths, and 10 plus 5 is 15. So we have 15 and 41 55ths. I'll write that down. And 41 55ths. That's pretty close to 1, which means this is pretty close to 16, which means that my sum is reasonable based on my estimate. And that is what you missed. You're all caught up now. Enjoy the rest of your day.